Hello, this is Lee back once again for another video. Yes, and I was just noticing all these, what are these, pieces of blue plastic? These little squares and things. What are they? Oh, yes, these are Blu-rays. Not digital versatile discs. They're like high-definition digital versatile discs. They're blue. And, let's see, what do they look like? So you pop open the little case here. It's a little skinnier than the standard Blu-ray, DVD actually case. And, it's the same thing. Looks exactly the same. I guess it's kind of a little shinier on one side, but, it holds more material. That's really the big deal. And it uses a different laser. It's not a red, it's a violet blue, almost blue, kind of purple laser. Whatever. So what are these pieces of junk? Well, obviously you can see I have a lot of them. They're very cheap now. I waited so long. I waited, when HD DVD came out and Blu-ray, and they said, well, they're about the same, and Microsoft is supporting one, and you've got all these different media companies going one side or the other, and you had movies coming out on both, and different players, and blah, blah, blah. And then finally the format war was over. Blu-ray has won, and, they put a special coating on them because originally they thought they'd be scratched. They were going to have little cartridges. You had to stick the cartridge in the player, whatever. But the price has come down. And I've never been an early adopter of technology. I came to this planet to get away from all that. Just, it's a long story, but, it's the simple life. So, there are many movies on Blu-ray that I've purchased fairly recently. Mostly movies I already own, but I thought, I'll just get a high-definition version because I have a high-definition display to watch them on. Because that's really what you need. Now they're talking about 4K. Come on, guys. Really? But anyway, so Blu-ray. When we first got digital versatile disc, there were discernible improvements to that format versus, say, VHS or Betamax. We always called it Beta. The tapes don't get stretched. You don't have to worry about magnets. Yes, you can scratch them. Of course, these are even harder to scratch, but, they took up less room on your shelf. They can include special features. They had higher resolution images, better sound quality, again, assuming you had a player. And they're very affordable. When VHS tapes first come out, they were like $100 or something. And the price would go down. Usually you'd rent them at first. You wait until they were like $20, $15 at the store, and then you buy them. DVD was really for movie lovers, but it was for the masses, for mainstream. Before that, you had Laserdisc, those huge, shiny discs, which were so cool. But you hardly ever saw them in stores. They were like a high-end product for movie fans. $70, $80 for one movie. And you had to, flip it over and to watch the other half of the movie. Sometimes it would be more than one disc. You had to take it out, like a record, a vinyl LP, and pop in the second one to watch it. And they would flex. They would bend. And sometimes the layers would separate. So Laserdisc was a big problem, even though it was higher quality. So DVD was such an improvement, it was easy to see for the average consumer that this is better. But then Blu-ray comes out, and even after HD DVD goes away, instead of the red, you've only got the blue. What do you do with these? So, I finally got my own player. I got a bunch of them for very, very cheap. And I made sure to avoid ones that, I knew I didn't like, or maybe it was a bad transfer. Well, here's the problem with Blu-ray. A lot of the early transfers, they would see the film grain on the screen. And people said, what is this? It kind of reminds me of the old thing when we first got widescreen movies, with the black bars on the top and the bottom. People said, what is this? I want to get rid of that. I want it full frame. And so then you'd have these stretched out pictures where people's heads looked fat or squashed because they didn't understand that that was to preserve the original aspect ratio of the theatrical presentation. You have a square screen 4x3, 4:3 colon, and then 16 by 9 stretched image. So, you get the proper aspect ratio. You always had a button on your remote control to change it so it was right. And with digital television, at least in the North American continent, it's a big mess. Every channel has its own thing. You got to keep adjusting it constantly, it seems like. Well, so the film grain, the grainy little bits of like static on the screen, little pieces floating around. People were confused by that, and they wanted it to go away. Some of them were even in the industry, and so they blurred the image. So then you got movies, infamously, I think it was Terminator and Predator, perhaps, where you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's got this rubbery skin. Is he a Terminator, or is he real? Who knows? But they were scrubbing away the grain, and it made the image artificially soft, and it just was weird and wrong. Then you had what was called the soap opera effect, where a lot of these high-definition televisions, these HD TVs, they had, a built-in default feature where they interpolated the frames, and it's like it was a sped-up image where everything was super sharp and super detailed, and it looked like daytime soap operas of the 80s and 90s. And it was wrong because, it wasn't how the image originally looked, kind of the soft, kind of flickery 24 frames per second or whatever it was, in the theaters. And you watch certain movies and it looks weird. It looks like actors on a set, and the backgrounds look like props and, matte paintings. A lot of the flaws that are hidden by the natural filmmaking process are suddenly brought into bright display, and it ruins the effect. So you had to go in and turn that motion plus or motion, whatever, boost, hyper motion, true motion, turn it off so you could enjoy a movie. But that's a problem with the TVs. So the TVs were very confusing. And then you had plasma TVs, and there was the problem of, well, are they going to last? Are they going to fade? And they're big and heavy. And then you had LCDs, but they've got ghosting, images. And for gaming, there was the question of response time. Is there a delay? Are you going to have to worry about screen burn-in? Is it sensitive to temperatures? Is it going to get cracked or smashed if you, tap it by accident? Then you got LEDs. So there was a lot of confusion. But finally, we've settled on a pretty standard, you've got your LED, LCD, or organic LED TVs. You've got your Blu-ray player that also plays digital versatile discs. You've got your movies. But there's still problems. So a lot of these Blu-ray players, it's a bit annoying for the customer, the consumer, the not hardcore tinkering computer geek, movie buff. These are just ordinary folks that just want to enjoy movies at home. Maybe save a little money. So you put your Blu-ray in and you've got to wait. You've got to wait. There's load times. What is this, PlayStation 1? You've got to wait 30 seconds, 2 minutes at the most. In some movies, they don't even have a little load screen to kind of tide you over. It's just black. Or it's a big, ugly blurb saying, there could be a slight delay on certain players. With DVD, a couple of seconds. And there's maybe a little split-second hiccup when the layer change in a dual-layer disc, for a 2-hour or more movie. But just Blu-ray is just a little annoying. So there's a little more prep time. You get used to it, but it's a little annoying. And that's just because, these are higher capacity discs. Something like 30 or 50 gigs instead of, 4 or 8, like DVD. And then these players, a lot of these players, they, new copy protection comes out all the time because they were just desperately trying to stop people from copying. It's the same problem with DVD and the same problem with VHS. The companies did not want people to copy. They only wanted you to buy directly from them, not bootleg, not pirate, not share with your friends, not edit, or anything. Of course, all that has been blown up. You have to get a software update. Yes, a software update or upgrade for your player. And of course, the whole reason people buy those instead of buying a computer to watch your movies is they don't have to deal with all that stuff. So now you have to, for the older ones, you had to find an Ethernet cord and plug it in, you connect to the internet, and download, assuming the server is still there, download a file, and it would update everything, and sometimes it would break. It would actually turn the machine into a brick. It would break, and you'd have to restore to the factory settings and wipe the memory in order to update it again. Firmware, they called it. So that was quite annoying extra step, just to enjoy a movie. Of course, software, Blu-ray and DVD players are even worse because they expire, and you have to get a new license after a certain amount of time and new updates, and it gets slowed down. It's very annoying. So, all these obstacles to a person just enjoying the movie. They just want to take the movie, put it in the machine, turn it on, and watch it. Is that so hard? Is that so much to ask? I know it's a first planet problem, but still. So there you go. Blu-ray, and then of course, like digital versatile disc, you get multiple versions of the same movie coming out. And they tried to sprinkle in extra features. They did a lot of DRM nonsense, a lot of internet connectivity, so, your machine is spying on you and, taking your user statistics and sending it to the company. If there's voice activation, they're listening to your conversations. Ooh, big brother, But then there was all that stuff, they give you Netflix, but they would give you all this preloaded garbage, and then it would expire. Or the company would stop using it or something, and it just wouldn't be useful anymore. Like using some service, and then it's like, oh, it's gone. Now it's just staring you in the face, just nonsense. You can't get rid of it. Plus, a lot of the early systems are very clunky. You're clicking around with your remote. It's very cumbersome. Typing in long strings of text. And that's improved a little bit. But thankfully, you can still get bare bones players that just play the movies just like you want. One remote, don't have to worry. And you can get televisions that don't have, internet connectivity right off the bat. Why do I want to suck up my internet? Yeah, sure, you've got your Netflix and Hulu and all these online services, but you can get little boxes that do that are dedicated, that can get firmware and software updates much easier and much more cheaply than the TV itself. So the smart TVs, bogus. Waste of time. Just a marketing gimmick, if you ask me. Good for a couple months, and then you might as well throw it away and get another one, which is what they want you to do. Then you got those curved TVs. I remember those were supposed to be the next best thing, but really, unless you put your face right up to it, it didn't really matter. It didn't do much for you. It'd be better to just get a projector and project it on a curved wall. Now that would be something. Video projectors have gone a long way, from their early humble beginnings. And the bulbs will eventually burn out. Televisions don't last forever. But back to Blu-ray. So you've got all these online features. You can go online to like chat rooms and talk to people about the movie you're watching and text constantly while you're watching a movie. Not my cup of tea. I mean, it's neat that they came up with such an idea, but it just seems like a distraction. I want to watch a movie. I don't want to go somewhere else and talk about a movie to strangers or even friends. If I want to do that, I'll just go out and talk to them. Have your dinner in a movie. Talk to your friends before or after. Go to IMDb or whatever and type your thoughts. But typing during the movie just seems annoying. And who wants to hear what I have to say while I'm watching a movie? Am I recording a commentary? Is this, riff tracks? What is it? So, not that big. And most of the special features on these movies, if it's a movie you really love, of course you're going to watch all that stuff. Once, maybe twice, but then it all comes down to the movie itself. Is this a high-quality presentation of a movie I love? Does it give me the option to watch the deleted scenes and alternate versions if they exist? Sometimes, George Lucas with Star Wars, he really only gave us one version of the film. Saga, from 2011, a totally new version. I mean, yes, he gave us the originals in 2006, but that's still just on digital versatile disc, not on Blu-ray, not on high definition. So it's taken fans to recreate those movies. So a lot of movies still aren't on Blu-ray. And there's people that bash this and say, why do you still have it on the disc? Let's go streaming. Yes, let's go streaming. Here's the problem with streaming. Especially with high definition content, you've got to have a very fast internet connection. and it's going to hog your bandwidth to get, a seamless, perfect, high-quality movie. I mean, watch a Netflix film sometime, compare it to your actual media. It's lower quality. That's because it's compressed, and they don't offer the movies forever. It'll be there for a little while, maybe a few weeks, few months, and then it's gone. Or it's the wrong version of the movie. It's just whatever's popular at the time or whatever they could afford. It's like, what's on television? Well, I can only watch what's on television. I'd rather own the media. Streaming is a nice idea, but for movies that I enjoy, I want to own the media. So I can pop it in any time, even if this company and everyone in it has gone completely out of business and no longer cares. I can pick it up, and I don't need an internet connection. I can just enjoy it. So now 4K is the next big thing coming out. 4K Ultra DVD. Here's the problem with that, and I've watched other videos, so I'm not the only one who's saying these things. You gotta have a new television, a new player, and new media to enjoy 4K. And you gotta have a gigantic TV to really be able to appreciate and notice the difference between your already high-definition Blu-rays. And the thing is, though, there was a wide span of years where movies would come out digitally, because film is kind of like dying art, if it isn't already dead, for movies, and, it's all digital. So, you get a movie that's made, like, let's say, in 2K, you can't make a 4K version of it. You'd have to recreate the whole movie, which sometimes you can do for completely digital movies. I think of something like The Incredibles, or something like that. Maybe if they have higher quality models on the computer, they can re-release it with a higher quality. But most of the time, it's just, you can't upscale it and have an actual improvement in quality. It's fake. So the benefit of 4K is going to be for newer, I'm talking like recent, extremely recent movies that are coming out right now, that you can put on 4K. And the problem is, a lot of them just aren't very good. I mean, I was looking, and it's like, okay, I could see Pacific Rim Uprising, but where's Pacific Rim in 4K? Doesn't exist. And are they ever going to release it? Probably not, because they'd have to recreate the movie. I don't think it was recorded in 4K originally. You'd have to recreate the movie. We're talking millions, maybe even billions of dollars, depending on the project. But you could, theoretically, I suppose, do a 4K scan of an old movie that was on celluloid, an actual film, not just a movie. And you could have a higher quality, but I see very few of these. Very few marketing attempts at, movie buffs to say, hey, you want to see The Wizard of Oz, you want to see Gone with the Wind in 4K? Well, here's a high quality, attention to detail, done with love and respect, transfer. It's like, no, it's just the movies that came out, the last 6 months. Here they are. That's it. So 4K is never going to be as big, I predict, as Blu-ray or as digital versatile disc. The only way to promote it really would be to artificially destroy the previous markets. So, as cumbersome as these are, I think this is here to stay. I think Blu-ray and streaming, even though streaming is like sub-DVD, somewhere in between DVD and Blu-ray in terms of quality, people watching movies on their phones obviously don't care because they're watching on a tiny screen. I'd rather watch it in a theater or on a large television, unless it was, originally recorded as a TV show. I don't mind watching it on a little CRT tube. I'll play classic games on that anyway, because that's how it was intended. I think it all goes back to what was the intended presentation originally, and as close as you can get to that, the better. So there's my rant, my thoughts. Blu-ray has its problems. I definitely enjoy getting my favorite movies again on Blu-ray because they're so cheap now. But I can't imagine someone who wants to start their video collection and goes right to 4K. Unless you really like the movies coming out of Hollywood these days, frankly, they're not that good. And if you think they're great, great. But I bet you haven't been exposed to much before that as an adult, in a position to judge quality. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Maybe you disagree, but whatever. Everyone's got an opinion. So goodbye for now.